There are certain players who make a living out of being calm in chaos, who through contact, high speeds, and just a lot going on around them, stay controlled and composed. And DBook may be one of the best I've seen at that, no doubt in my mind. So if you feel like you're a bit out of control at times on the court, just watch and learn. So first off is how he creates contact. A lot of players get too aggressive, and instead of knocking the defender off balance a bit, they end up off balance themselves. Not him. He's consistently playing the role of the initiator, bumping defenders in that mid-range, on the way to the rim, yet at the same time, he's always in control. And some of these are not just light little bumps. He's really getting some momentum on these, yet he's always quickly into that next move, or worst case regaining his balance if he loses it, and making a play from there. A lot of this is because he sources the power from his base, so instead of just throwing his body into the defender and flailing into them, he's kind of pushing through his base or his legs. So these are smart, technical bumps that end up creating him a ton of space and absolutely play a part in wearing down defenders over the course of a game. Even when he plays with a very active off arm, it's not just flailing around. It's aggressive, but not out of control. This is also a byproduct of him worrying less about speed, more so about effective contact and control. A lot of players think gaining crazy momentum is the way to go, but oftentimes it's not.
I do not care about the speed. One of the biggest things that I see when players try to finish through contact is that they think going fast is going to help them. The speed really doesn't matter. If you look at some of the best finishers through contact, a lot of the time they're slowing down to do that. So feel free, if we're going here, you're playing defense, instead of just trying to race to the basket, I'm getting here and I'm slowing down. I can come to 2 feet. So feel free to be calm with it, stay relaxed, instead of just trying to race to the rim, finish through contact that way, all right?
But ironically, the flip side of this is that he knows when to scale back and not create contact. Maybe to stop short for a little runner type shot or whatever the solution may be. Contact is great, but realistically, it's always a balance. And then lastly, in terms of creating contact on his line to the basket, he's a great example of how sometimes, instead of thinking about creating contact, just think about your ideal angle, take that angle, and then effective contact will be a byproduct. But as we know, realistically, it's not always just the offense initiating contact. So what's also impressive is his control absorbing contact. Even when he's the one to get bumped, he's in control. He's recovering quickly, and he's directly into the next step or movement. And if you can get this down, the game feels so much more composed because the physicality of it isn't really phasing you much. Next is his control and fading on his jumpers. A lot of coaches see fades and instruct the players to not shoot off balance, so to speak. But I'd say that if your fadeaways are controlled, they can actually not only be very useful for creating space and maintaining your space as you're jumping away from defenders, but also being unpredictable as you can shoot from moving slightly away from the basket like you see here. Something defenders usually just aren't expecting most times. And again, the prerequisite here is control, which Booker clearly has. And part of what I think Book does really well is making an emphasis out of his release. So in other words, no matter how much he's rotating or drifting, he takes his time and even hangs a bit to ensure a patient, straight release. That's huge. Also, watch how he rotates earlier in the jump. It's as he's jumping, or right as he's lifting off, versus trying to get a big leg swing going late in the jump. Put all this together with lower, more comfortable, patient speeds, and you got yourself an in-control fadeaway. Then honestly, he's one of the more impressive ones, his control with speed. So in other words, even at high speeds, it looks like he's not even moving so fast. Like yes, he's definitely going fast, but he's able to maintain his composure with the ball, even while essentially racing some of the best athletes in the world to the bucket. This comes with practice, but also finding that speed, maybe 90% of your absolute max speed, that allows you to keep full control and not get tunnel vision. And it's clear how aware he is. He's always surveying to ensure he knows exactly where everyone is and what's happening around him, which makes that control so much easier. Also, as he gets close to the rim, it's not easy to have the composure to finish on lays like this, where he's jumping off 1 foot with defenders in his space. Honestly, most players are more worried about not getting injured here, but he's got the control to maintain that calmness in midair and find a way to finish even with the tough contests. How? Well, whether he's worked on it purposefully or just gotten a ton of experience with it over the years, he's developed his body control to a super high level, to the point where now all his focus goes towards the finish, not where he's going or landing. Something else to note is how good of a decelerator he is. So as soon as he sees a situation that he doesn't like coming up ahead, he can say nope and just quickly slam on the brakes to shoot or just to pass or dribble out. This is always a telltale sign of a player with great control, as they're able to not only see that potential for an out of control situation, but then actually stop themselves on a dime. And just as importantly, he knows that many times he doesn't have to be at that full speed. So you'll see him maneuvering the court at an effortless 60, 70, 80% speed, because he's playing chess, not checkers, using timing to get by defenders, finding open pockets of space, not just rushing to the basket. Maybe he's playing with physicality, as we mentioned earlier, at lower speeds, and then getting these situational buckets by attacking closeouts with creativity, coming off screens, and much more. It's not always just a display of athleticism. And then lastly is the control on his shot. So this is more so just the concept of understanding that number one, he's got a super high release on mid-ranges, so that's hard to block. And number two, that honestly, most defenders aren't trying to block jumpers anyways, but rather just get a good contest up. So he never really looks rushed on jumpers. He's always composed. He even hangs on shots like I mentioned earlier to find that composure and find that calmness in the air, which to most seems crazy, but to Book seems pretty commonplace. So hopefully you guys are able to take something from this video and apply this to how you play. I think if you guys study and try to apply these things, it can make you a lot more in control in the game, which ultimately makes the game a lot easier for you. As always, thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at ByAnyMeansBasketball and stay tuned for a lot more, which I put all in the description.